Okay, Goji guy has created the most powerful hybrid in history. It's a bold claim, bro, especially after Goji Center like completely dismantled their Hank hybrid creation, like brutalized it. It was gnarly. But now Goji Center's in this video featured, so maybe it's different. I never even had the balls to release my Dinosaur hybrid because the critique is so brutal around here. But leave a like, subscribe to Goji guy, and let's get into it.
Hank. You all know him well. And if you don't, you are very behind.
Wow, Hank looks beautiful.
Watch this video, and then this one if that's the case. But for everyone else who's been waiting, today is the day. Today we not only bring back Hank, the hybrid that started the war, but also make him better in every aspect.
Along with that, we will go into depth on his new genome, his new abilities, and explain just how deadly his new form is. All of this will be achieved using real-world science. Along with that, we will discuss how he will dominate his new environment and how he is now truly a competition for the Indom 2.0.
Bringing in Goji Center on the Hank video, Hank 2.0 is a bold move. Like there's no holes to poke it in it. It's got to be perfect.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Goji Center.
Grab
Weird.
a snack, as today we're happy to welcome back the one that caused the hybrid war.
Say hello to Hank 2.0.
Bro, two people talking at once destroys my brain. I'm so confused now. It's like a freaking flashbang went off in my face. It's gonna take me about 3 days to recover from that. Wow, this Hank looks so freaking handsome. Whoa, dude, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's so cool.
So again,
there's so much Sherpint in it.
I'm your co-host, Goji Guy, along with a special guest here today, that being Goji Center. In today's video, we have heard your all's cries, and plan to upgrade Hank in every aspect to make sure he not only thrives in his new body, but also doesn't, well, blow himself up. So make sure to subscribe if you like anything dinosaur or Godzilla related, and let's get cooking. So
the new Hank is so beautiful.
Hank's original genome, along with the issues that came with it. Hank was made far before the realism rule was at play with other more modern hybrids. So to anyone that hasn't heard the genome yet, buckle up. Hank's genome included Spinosaurus, Giganotosaurus, Indominus Rex, Scorpius Rex, Chameleon, Dunkleosteus, Shrimp, and Tardigrade. Yeah, I know. Now, while you can have a wide variety of animals within a hybrid, which you will see with Hank 2.0, the issue is they have to be very selective and careful with how you put them together. So let's start with Hank's most prominent issues. We need to address these issues as to make sure we don't replicate them. And to pretty much make sure this version of Hank is, well, Hank-proof. Yeah. Firstly, arms.
Hank got freaking destroyed, bro.
Hank, which, if you haven't, go watch it now. When making Hank, who's meant to counter and outdo the Indom 2.0 in every way. And to those who have seen the Indom 2.0 video, you know that the 2.0 has some super strong claws and arms. So when making Hank, I give him some of the hardest hitting arms in the animal kingdom, or, well, claws, using the pistol shrimp. But long story short, using pistol shrimp claws and a dinosaur arm just isn't how the pistol shrimp works, much less increasing the force with the size like I said it would. In doing all this, at least when you bring Hank into a world that follows closely with our laws of physics, well, Hank blows his own arms off. His bones aren't able to withstand the force and end up blasting off his own body.
I don't mean to judge Goji guy for these issues, but it was like I would have had the same crap. Goji Center would have taken my beast apart just as brutally for sure. But it was so funny because Hank looks so freaking awesome, but then his arms and face, all of them start exploding because none of it was like made to be that size. It was so funny.
Next up, his jaw. The Indom 2.0 had a crazy iron bite, making it almost impossible to have any skin resistant to it. So rather than building custom skin or armor to withstand the attack, I decided to beat it in its own game.
Samson was a gangster.
DNA for the sheer bite force, but also adding Dunkleosteus DNA for a quick snapping jaw. Now, while this seems fine at first, it's when you bring up the fact that in the animal kingdom, you can really only have one or the other. In nature, animals either have a strong bite, a quick bite, or some sort of ability, say toxins or electrocyte cells. Hank here is trying to do both, which again, no bones can withstand. So Hank, when biting full force and speed, just ends up breaking his own face, destroying his lower jaw in a single strike, making it impossible for him to continue in battle. And finally, his mental stability. Using the Scorpius Rex was already a big issue, but putting that together with multiple other dinosaurs, along with the Chameleon that changes colors via emotion, was a terrible idea, making Hank act very sporadically. So the biggest issues is his arms, jaw,
that was
and
pretty
psyche.
cool.
When making 2.0, we need to make sure Hank is able to, well, withstand his own body and mind. And then actually move on to his upgrades and new features. So let's rebuild Hank. Goji Center, take it away.
All right, everyone, sit down, everyone, and get comfortable, because class is in session. Those who have been following this entire hybrid fiasco know very well that Hank did need a bit of improvements. The design and overall concept was actually good enough for us at Goji Center to offer a complete overhaul of Hank's genome, making him true to its original form while keeping the hallmark abilities of Hank. That being a quick, snapping jaw, very powerful arms, toxic traits, and a build that more or less resembles an animal in the Spinosauridae family. With that in mind, let's begin with the base. Since Jurassic Park animals are fair game in this scenario, we will keep the original base animal, the Spinosaurus seen in Jurassic Park 3 and Camp Cretaceous. Goji Guy's decision to select this animal actually was a pretty good idea. To its merit, this animal proved to be a pretty good combatant, grappler, and an adept swimmer.
I maintain the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus probably could have killed the Indom. Most likely not, but in my head, probably.
There are things we could take from its real counterpart, the Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, that could actually enhance the base build of this animal without compromising congruity.
It's crazy.
One aspect of the real-life Spinosaurus that was not present in the JP3 version was the unique foot anatomy. Spinosaurus was one of those very few cases where theropods would walk on all 4 digits, with almost certainly having webbing between them, improving swimming and increasing stability when standing on mucky terrain. The first iteration of Hank seemed to feature a tadpole-like tail. Instead of borrowing from another animal, we can use the real-life Spinosaurus. The tail of the JP3 was nothing special compared to the real thing. Using this paddle-like structure that will later be optimized with a later addition will not only make Hank 2.0 more adept in the water, but also add musculature in assisting Hank in adopting a tripod stance when rearing up to fight. This stance not only makes him look taller and more imposing, but tightens his circle of rotation to turn himself around quicker. To further bolster the cooperation between body and tail, a Patasaurus makes itself present in this mix. A sauropod which could adopt this stance as well, with reinforcements on the bottom of the tail, as well as providing enhanced growth capabilities, helping it get a bit larger and grow fast, like real sauropods could.
I feel like he looks so different from the original Hank, like so
Now, you may recall that
different.
the original Hank had a sail along its back, the material of which looked a bit fishy. Nothing wrong with that, but it could be improved. The original Dunkleosteus gene will hereby be replaced by another fish, who provides a much more useful sail. The appropriately named sailfish will come in handy. Selecting only the genes in charge of developing the sail structure, this addition will not only give Hank 2.0 a large fin to help it maneuver in the water, but also make it collapsible. That's right, Hank 2.0, for reasons that you will find out later, is now able to navigate easier through wide crevices without ruining its sail.
Giving it a collapsible sail was actually pretty freaking genius, not gonna lie.
Keeping it tucked away during combat to prevent any ripping, or moving through dense foliage to avoid it getting tangled up. Now to the biological warfare aspects. In a previous video, we broke down Hank's original ability to secrete poison through its skin via oil glands, and it didn't really work. To fix this problem, we will use 2 animals, a modern-day dinosaur and one aquatic fish, to make this the instigator of the worst acid trip ever. Venom is when you bite someone and they get sick. Poison is when something bites you and you get sick. But there are ways to be poisonous without risking injury. You just need ways to deliver the poison in ways that don't hurt yourself. And there are several means, one of which would be present in one of the only known toxic dinosaurs. That's right, here is a hooded pitohui, a curious-looking bird from New Guinea that is loaded with a cocktail of toxins spread across the body tissue and even on its skin and feathers. The fact that this bird is alive and functional means that the bird itself has to be resistant to a wide range of toxins, as they can, in some cases, be more toxic than poison dart frogs. Now, admittedly, these toxins come from stuff that they eat. They don't just excrete poison out of nowhere. What we really need from this bird is the ability to excrete toxins through its skin onto the quills.
I'm so lost right now. That bird's poisonous,
which will be present on Hank 2.0. The source of this toxicity and the ability to process this poison will come from the Sarpa salpa, reported to cause hallucinations and debilitation like LSD when bitten into. Like the pitohui, this fish itself isn't poisonous, but it comes from algae it eats. This internal physiology and the bird's ability to then allocate these toxins on skin and quills will be useful for Hank. Now, most animals that take a bite of and eat a chunk of Hank will likely begin to hallucinate and act a bit off. And as we'll get into this later, this version of Hank would actually be an omnivore and spend a lot of time in riverways, meaning that there will be lots of algae to snack on and convert to said toxins.
I am so interested in taking a bite out of that thing and just seeing what happens.
Given the sheer volume of toxins involved, Hank might even taint some water formations, causing anyone to drink this affected water to suffer from the effects. That is, if Hank remains submerged long enough in stagnant water.
That's insane.
One of the big problems with the original version of Hank was the bite. combat. With tooth and jaw, the 3 methods of attack are the following: slash and rend like a shark, clamp and crush like a T-Rex, or snap and engulf like the Dunkleosteus. Hank's problem was that the creators tried to make this animal do all 3 things at once, resulting in catastrophe. Our goal, Hank's Bite, is to make something that works differently than the Indom 2.0 to allow Hank to confront and defeat different types of opponents, some of which the Indom 2.0 might have trouble with. Hank's jaws will combine aspects of Giganotosaurus on top of the already existing Spinosaurus. Now, while neither of these carnosaurs had the same biting pressure of a T-Rex, neither of these bite forces were at all weak, with plenty of evidence that these could shatter bone and cut deep into the skeleton itself. To better blend these 2 forces without compromising any of the teeth, the Giga comes equipped with an enlarged chin, which helps the Giga withstand the torque, snapping the jaws down rapidly like those of a bear trap. This feature will prevent Hank 2.0 from smashing its own face like last time.
Hank did look like he had a really tiny chin. I feel like a big muscular chin. Yeah,
So
could have
far,
fixed
Hank's
a lot
tooth
of that.
arrangement looks like this. Spinosaur-like teeth on the front of the jaw to grasp and stab into a target. In the latter part, we have the serrated Giga-like teeth to act like a homicidal hacksaw to shred flesh and bone. These may not crush as well as its partner, but will certainly get the job done, and is likely to inflict more bloody wounds, enabling easier tracking of any prey that escaped. The armored plating on top of the head of the Giganotosaurus will reinforce the cranium to act as a real bludgeon in the midst of battle, and keeping that pointy crest influenced by the marine sailfish element. We aren't quite done yet with the teeth. The original Hank did have quite the distinct look, and to not deprive it from the joys of biting extra hard into a victim, Thylacoleo makes itself present into this mix by providing 2 sets of enlarged blade-like incisors, which further bolster the Spinosaurus' insane gripping ability at the front of the jaw. Pairing those blade-like tusks on the front of the jaw with the rapid snaps and sturdy skull from the 2 carnosaurs, and you have a good recipe for rapid stabbing and slicing into whatever Hank starts biting into.
See, that sounds incredible, but I think they did mention that the Indom 2.0 still bites harder, so you gotta wonder which. I feel like eventually we'll see them fight each other. That'd actually be pretty
armor
sweet.
or dermal tissue to hit the blood vessels underneath more effectively. Another big problem that OG Hank had that ultimately contributed to its ruin was the foolish use of the pistol shrimp arm mechanic. If you remember, this sort of impact is only viable underwater, and if somehow this was possible up here on land, then, well, you wouldn't have an arm left. To allow Hank to have a hell of a haymaker, we will resort to some of the extinct mega mammals, whose living relatives include
Wombats.
tree sloths, anteaters, and armadillos. Hank's arms will be anatomically similar to Lestodon. This was one of the largest of the ground sloths, with the big ones reaching the size of elephants. We'll take the Olchronon, or elbow spike, which acts as a force multiplier, and the arm attachments across the deltoid tuberosity.
That is an ugly bastard right there. Jesus Christ, look at the thing's face. It looks so moist and piggy.
If you take a look at these lower arm bones like the ulna and radius, you'll notice that they are extremely robust and sturdy enough to withstand a lot of force. Add the very strong grip that these animals have, and you have an animal that can hold and slap a lesser animal's face right off.
If I saw one of those in real life, I'd be like, you don't exist. Like, you're my figment of my... You know what I mean?
With what claws, you might ask? Well, we'll go back to our ground sloth in a bit in order to bring back the Thylacoleo.
Oh my God.
They also contribute here, thanks to its very pronounced thumb claw with a great range of motion to act as a grappling device. Even the Apatosaurus contribution adds to this, as it's one of the many types of sauropods that actually did bear an enlarged talon on their thumb, which it certainly used. More congruity and even better thumb claw. One extra asset that we can graft on with the benefit of precision gene editing that allows Hank to secrete toxic oil from the quills is the Komodo dragon's iron-enriched teeth. Not only do they also have an impressive set of claws to complement the sloth and thylo, but this could provide slight iron enrichment as well as keratin reinforcement. Reptiles have a different type of keratin than mammals. Known as beta-keratin, this material is stronger than the alpha-keratin mammals have and will further strengthen these claws. Thalassochnus is our contributor not only for the arm bone composition, but also different parts of the skeleton. A decent-sized sloth, but it's the hardware built on for its lifestyle that we are after. This sloth was amphibious to the point of comfortably making journeys out to sea.
That's
Riverways,
insane.
open water, lakes were all fair game to explore, armed enough to fend off attacks from oceanic predators like sharks and whales. To do this, a flexible spine, which will help greatly with swimming and maneuvering underwater when it paddles its thick tail side to side. It also has extremely dense bones, which will serve as a ballast to help it sink underwater and possibly even walk on the riverbeds. Balancing out any buoyancy from the theropod air sacs inside the body, Hank is now a very adept diver. You may have noticed that we haven't talked about armor yet. We'll be taking the attributes from the Komodo dragon and, believe it or not, the sloth. Using these will prevent Hank from being too armored to the point where it can't move comfortably. The scales of the Komodo dragon are
really
different
good
from
creature
those
put
of a
together right
crocodile.
here.
Crocodiles have scutes, hardened plates of keratin. Lizard scales are formed from the uppermost layers of skin tissue with a bony component, like tiny osteoderms developing as they age. So, in our case, Hank, as he grows up to adulthood, will...
I mean, in all these photos, he's slaughtering the Indom 2.0. I guess it is called the most powerful hybrid in history. I suppose the bite strength really doesn't that matter.
slowly but surely develop stronger
matter?
armor as he matures. To further reinforce parts of the armor and to not leave Hank with just scales, Lestodon comes in handy once more. This animal just so happened to belong to a group of ground sloths that developed a mesh of bony nodules underneath parts of their bodies,
Bony
resisting many
nodules?
types of slashing and stabbing wounds. With these two types of armor present, we have an exceptionally well-armored Hank, with hardened scales, bony support, and an underlying layer of sloth armor padding. Particularly determined attackers might still be able to pierce, but they would have a lot of that force diminished before they reached any vital organs, all whilst maintaining enough agility for Hank to fight back. The final part of this hybrid anatomy to discuss is the brain. And since we're planning for this creature to collaborate with Indom 2.0 in a special experiment, we'll have both of these have a common denominator when it comes to brain composition: the chimpanzee. This brain needs no further introduction. Collaborative enough to formulate strategy with members of its own kind, and aggressive instincts on par with some of the most violent animals on Earth. For this experiment, both an Indom 2.0 and Hank 2.0 will be raised together in captivity, well fed so that they may not turn on each other, and encouraged to collaborate as they mature. More details on this will be revealed on our channel at a future date. But now that we wrapped up this section, we are happy to present Hank Resurgence. Name meaning Hank the Risen, a more powerful and functional hybrid, designed to complement the Indom 2.0 in their future task to take over Skull Island.
So with all of Goji Center's nerd talk out of the way, oh, I'm so lonely. Let's finally reevaluate Hank versus Indom. First up, sheer bulk. Hank 2.0 is huge. Some would even say massive. His sheer size, along with his long arms, while not as defined as the Indom's muscles, would be like putting a bodybuilder up against a powerlifter. Think C-Bum versus Eddie Hall. Hank's sheer volume and weight would act like a snowplow. If he charges into Indom 2.0, while there would be a struggle at first, Hank would quickly overpower his foe, and it would honestly just be the best for Indom to just let it happen. As if she bites or slashes at him, she'll get those nasty neurotoxins right in her mouth. Secondly, just waiting in water. If Hank stays in a body of water long enough, his toxins would seep into the water itself.
That's a bold claim. It'd be better for the Indom 2.0 to just let it happen. The gist of it is, it's some bold claims out there. I guess it is the ultimate hybrid, though.
And if when Indom needs to come get a sip, she would start to have an insane acid trip. Now, whether or not this kills her, this does put her at a huge disadvantage, allowing Hank to quickly swoop in and do what the Moza did to her predecessor.
Plot twist, you freaking put the Indom 2.0 on so much acid trip that it basically turns out into like a crackhead homeless person who doesn't feel pain.
And if you're worried this strap won't work in Indom, as she'd of course see all the dead animals around, you have to keep in mind, Hank is smart. He would either remove them from the surrounding area, or just drag their bodies down to the water and eat them later. Another cool way Hank could take down the Indom is back to his roots, his jaw. Now, while not having a bite as strong as the Indom's, Hank once again has a faster bite though, being able to cause a lot of bleeding in a short amount of time, and along with its wicked toxins, would ensure temporary paralysis. And there is one other tactic, but we'll save that for another video. So to answer the question is hard. A battle between these two would be close and fierce. Now, while I am of course biased to Hank, putting the bias aside, it's a close 50-50. There are ways for either of them to take each other out. It really just depends on their own environment and who gets the jump. If the Indom ambushes Hank, Hank could hold his own, but I feel he would go down. If Hank plows into the Indom and manhandles her, he could take the win. There are ways for either of these beasts to take each other out. But overall, Hank 2.0 is a massive upgrade, having a retractable sail, huge arms, long claws, a deadly bite, and all of that paired with his sheer size and poisons and hallucinogenics. Yeah, no dinosaurs can have a good time fighting this monstrosity. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think the new Hank could be the Indom 2.0?
I think they might specifically have a good time. People pay a lot of money for hallucinogenics. So that thing does it for free. I feel like they'd have a really good time fighting
Let
it.
us know. But as always, everybody, keep collecting. Goji Guy, out. See
Keep
ya.
collecting. That's a great sign off. I don't know, man. Goji guy's a smart fella. He's definitely put together some amazing creature here, but Goji Center is like, they're a shiesty team of individuals. I feel like they have something up their sleeve. I know freaking Goji guy just mentioned he has something up his sleeve too later on, but Goji Center is like, I feel like there's gonna be some alternate thing no one's considered. I feel like Goji Center wouldn't just surrender the victory like that, unless it literally just means nothing to them anymore because it's been months of hybrid battles. Either way, Hank's freaking awesome. I can't wait to see this future video with that in the Indom 2.0. Wonder what they're gonna be doing. Either way, leave a like, subscribe to Goji guy and Goji Center, and I'll see you next time.